Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are on the planet or what time you may watch this. I'm your humble host, David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. Now, with that said, I hope that you are well in whatever part of the world you are, and that circumstances, be they if they're bad, will work out for you. We'll send out that kind of energy right from the get-go. Now, this particular subject, I know I have another subject. I keep telling people I'm going to do this other video about the Braves on horseback, and it's coming. It is, but this particular subject has been on the back burner for a while, and today seems to be a heavy day. This will be my third video for this day in September the 28th of 2020 at 11:51 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Anyway, timestamp. When I was a child growing up in the 60s in the Catholic Church, the idea of evolution and all that was just, God made us, and that was that. And there was no dispute, there was no discussion, and it wasn't until later on that people started going back in time and going, well, how far back does the Bible go? Well, let's just say it goes back 12,000 years. And there are some folks who believe it's only been 6,000 years or something like that. Anybody that's done any kind of anything on this planet, hiking or going somewhere, or anything like that, you have got to understand this planet is old. Now, but God made everything in 7 days or whatever. Hi, 65 Starlight. Well, just sit back and listen, Starlight. And good to see you again. But this subject's been in the back of my head for a long time. Now, years ago, I was involved with folks who were doing the play, and I can't remember it now. But it was the the monkey trials, and we were going to do the play about the monkey trials and so forth, meaning, talk about evolution and that kind of thing. So, and whether, just as a political statement to today, and what them folks thought about back then, and what the implications of that same, and they're the transcripts and everything. You can read the whole thing online. But I was there at doing puppet shows in Tennessee, and I can't remember the name of the town for sure. I want to say it was Dayton, Tennessee, but please don't quote me on that. But that's where they held the monkey trials. So the monkey trials was all about whether or not we were evolved from monkeys or if we were put here by God. And it was a matter of religion versus practicality. So back then, we only had the information that we had back then. So the statement of whether or not we evolved from monkeys has stuck. And you see in the biology rooms and science labs and things, here's man, and then behind him are all these monkeys and stuff, and the Neanderthal, and and here's the thing. In the 68 years I've been alive, I've not seen monkeys evolve at all. I've noticed that they adapt. But whether or not we could actually say that they have evolved. Now, let's discuss evolution. And monkeys and baboons and gorillas in the wild are still monkeys and baboons and living in the wild. Crocodiles are 100,000 years old or more. But the earth was created, the planet's only 12,000 years because the Bible says so, or that's what they figured out. And but is that what they want you to believe? You know. So in this quandary of spiritualism and things and understanding about the universe, here's the deal. Many of the Aboriginal tribes all over the planet know about the sky beings. They know from up there whence they came. And in some cases, they were brought here by these sky beings on purpose, you know? And it's in their oral traditions and some of the paintings and wall stuff, you know. And people say, well, you know, that doesn't really matter, and you know, no. Um, we have evolved, and I would say yes, we have evolved, but not from monkeys or the great apes. I mean, have apes learned to talk? Now they've learned sign language, but have their vocal cords all over all the thousands of years. And you know, if man has evolved, if man evolved from a monkey, don't you think monkeys would have learned how to talk by now, especially in zoos? You know, no, they have not had, their vocal cords are still there. They, you know, they're smart. They've learned how to do this or that. But my dog is smart. They, you know, compared to what a monkey does and what this does and the other thing, and dogs are smarter, you know, and cats too, but that's hard to gauge. So let's look at, and you know, dogs still have four legs and a tail. I'm looking at Duggar over here, who really wants to go outside, but the mosquitoes are horrible. We got to wait. He was just covered in mosquitoes earlier. I mean, like dozens on him. Just no, can't do that. You know, he doesn't have much fur and can't do that. But anyway, so, but we love Duggar. He's over there on the floor smooching up one of his big stuffed toys that he has. But anyway, so you know, animals have evolved over time, like dogs and this and that, but through human intervention. You know, you're going to mix this one with this one and you get one of these, you know. And or like some of the poodles and things, you know, I had a little poodle dog, and she was the bravest damn dog I have ever seen in my life. And she was like, you know, this tall, you know, little poodle dog. Scruffy hated a bath, just would rather go out and roll in the mud and be in the swamp. I mean, the perfect swamp dog. Oh my God, little Miss Sasha. And used to literally run with a wolf. And so four-leggeds are smart. They have a lot of compassion and everything, but they are still four-leggeds. They're still critters. You know, they're still dogs. That's not to say that that is a bad thing, but they haven't learned to speak. You know, Sasha would bark, 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 and I'm teaching Duggar how to, you know, let's communicate and what does this mean, and trying to learn what his bark means, you know. And like, hey, you can bark at anything, but if that's really important, I'm gonna let you out and I'm going with you. So, you know, you give me a certain bark, then my response is, okay, you know, it's not just something you want to run for, but it is actually something we need to go check out. Then, so, you know, I have to learn it and he has to teach it to me. This is what I mean by this growl, you know. But anyway, but in this evolution of things, monkeys are still monkeys. They haven't learned how to build a car, let alone, you know, a raft. Or now there are those monkeys in different places who have learned how to do some extraordinary things, like crack open coconuts and do this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, that is a learned behavior over time. It's called the 100 monkey. You know, they keep trying things, but after 100 monkeys sees it, they all learn it. And I've made a statement before about myself. I'm the 88th monkey as far as spirituality goes, or as a shaman. In other words, I'm learning how to crack open the universe. That's a bad metaphor, but I'm thinking of these macaques or something that break open these that learned how to use rocks and whatever to break open, coconuts and things. And there are birds who use sticks to dip termites out of holes and things. And I've noticed here on my own property, I've looked inside of nests, birds' nests, and I'll notice that birds have started using plastic bags inside their nest, because in essence they're like the perfect material, because they act as a windbreak and can help keep the chicks warm, and it's a better insulator, and after it rains it just drips out. I mean, it's like, but I've seen a lot of nests with interwoven with plastic. Birds are ingenious. So you say, well, wait a minute, is that evolution? But birds are still birds. They can talk, and we understand in the animal language. Now, in the Native American communities, the old stories are the animals spoke with humans, and we could understand each other. It was sort of like the Tower of Babel, if you will, of things. But in the old legends, which are supposed to be true stories, the old legends were that we could communicate with all the critters, and the critters could communicate with us. We could understand one another. But man got, it was that what they'd say is like, look, we have to eat, bears have to eat. Everybody's got, the whole animal kingdom understands, that some folks got to get eaten, but it was how it was done by the humans. And the humans were just, disrespectful, dishonorable, and broke basically that rule of one, do no harm. So they started overkilling and killing for the fun of it. And the animals got all together and had a great powwow and agreed to not speak to man from that point forward. So we could say we have de-evolved in that sense, but in looking at my dog and have lived, in nature most of my life like this, I understand that even in the wild, I have seen critters, and I've talked about, the time that otter came right up beside me at the end of a ceremony, right there sitting on the riverbank, come right up to me. I could have reached out and touched him on the nose, or her, I'm not sure. And I've had a lot of other animal experiences. And so instead of, like one night I went down to the river just to go see, and I walked right by, I mean, like maybe 10 feet, maybe 15, but close. 2 fawns hiding in the bushes. And I saw them by their eyes, and I got a quick glance, and then I kept my light off of them so I wouldn't spook them. But those 2 fawns could have just up and bolted and ran, and they didn't, because, I recognized them. I just stood still for a moment, and I didn't make any motion towards them, and did my best to kind of back off. And I take my headlight off and put it down low, about waist high, so anything doesn't get spooked. So, but anyway, people who've lived in the woods and so forth get this understanding, and shamans and old timers and all that. I don't know what it is, a better understanding. And the more we understand, the more the animals understand us. There's a change in our frequency. There's a change in our aura. And instead of being frightened, they're almost like, oh, hi, how you doing? And I'm like, hi, how you doing? Are you taking a walk too? Yeah, me too. And I'm talking to the deer, right? Or the otter, or the other critters that I've seen in the woods or the swamp. So about evolution. Now, have we evolved from apes? Now, I submit this. When you look at all the different types of critters on this planet and their DNA, we're the only critters that have been tampered with. Now, there are some, I respect some of these folks highly, I do, in their UFO research and this, that, and the other thing. And they do excellent work. They're covering all kinds of alternate news things and stuff. But they're of this thing that if ET shows up, and says, yep, we helped create you, that's just not going to work. Now, we have to stop and just think about this. Now, it depends on which ET it is, in my humble opinion. But somebody has tinkered with us, because no other critter or anything else on this planet, because everything has been sequenced, we're the only ones that have got 1 and 2 scrunched up in this little way. Somebody, so here, my point in looking at the truth of things, how can you say we have not been tinkered with? All the evidence points to the fact that somebody has tinkered with us somehow, genetically. Now, none of the other critters have been tampered with. Old bones, new bones, that no other critter has been tampered with. Old DNA and new DNA, they're still the same DNA. Humans, or the species, we've been tampered with. Hi, Mother Nature, how are you? That's what's different. You shaved. No, actually, no, it's just cut close. I haven't shaved, really. I always shave up here. I don't like the cheek fuzz, but I'm trimmed is what it is. It was too hot and bulky. You know, I can let it grow out this winter. But anyway, good to see you, Mother Nature. And everybody else, say hi to hello, Ian, 65. And let me back up a minute. You know me, I try to really not pay attention to Candy Apple. Hi, how are you? And Mossy Man, I think the ancients were smarter than we are. Absolutely. Favor to you too, Mossy. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before. Good to have you. Cheers. A bunch of programming. Yep. Birds adapting. Yeah, see, now that's the thing. People would say, well, the birds are evolving. No, they're adapting. And there is a huge difference in there, you know? And so that's one of the things that as we gain a higher level of spirituality and understanding of things, and you realize how much is connected and we are and all that kind of stuff, it emanates back to the animal kingdom. But now, with that said, what about the sky beings? Now, there are a lot of signs. And if you've watched any but just a little bit of Ancient Aliens, you got to think, wait a minute. Now, all these people that talk about, you know, the pyramids and this, that, and the other thing, listen, them folks had some kind of devices. And one of the things that nobody will attest to or admit to, what if there were, guess what, giants in those days? Now, we've got proof of 70-foot giants. We've got proof of 12, 15-foot giants all over the place. So what if instead of all of these slaves and all this other stuff, there were actually giants in those days? Because there's evidence that helped to build some of these really large things. Well, they moved these blocks. You know, a giant, you know, he could toss one of these blocks on his shoulder and, you know, hump it into up from the Nile. Just there are some things that they just leave out that, well, that's just not practical. Well, it's, you know, do you think it was practical that they were able to shave these stones back then with that type of precision? An inside cut corner that's you can put a machinist square up to, and it will be almost perfect. Now, I'm an old machinist. It's really difficult to get a good tight angle on metal with coolant and tooling and all this other kind of stuff. And it's really difficult. And they did it to granite 2,000 years ago, or 25 or 3,000 years ago. But here's the point. I agree with you. They knew they were a whole lot smarter than we were. And we can't. Wait, let me back this up a second. It is silly to believe, in my humble opinion, that they built these large structures like cavemen. You know what I mean? they portray these people, the Egyptians and others. I mean, they portray them as being idiots, led by these, But the evidence is showing that they had whole community of artists and artisans, metal, you name it. I have seen. They had a display of Ramses the second in Jacksonville. I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, and I went to Jacksonville to see it. And when you see the detailed work that they did, the craftsmanship with not only, the carvings but I mean, with the gold and the embossing and I'm like, you know what? It's difficult this day. 2,500 years ago, these folks were doing this really delicate, fine work. With what? Well, they had copper tools, and they had this and that. Well, just because you can't find the tools doesn't mean that they didn't have the availability of something else. I mean, considering the accuracy. Now, let's just not consider True North and all that, because True North has been wobbling. And oh, by the way, the Schumann's still up a little bit. The moon has shifted 5 degrees since last night. I always sit in my chair here, and last night I could see the moon in that window, and it's been low and everything. And I was like, now that's interesting. Let's see if it moves. Tonight, I can't see the moon through that window. It's up there somewhere. It's moved. We're shifting again. And we're getting a cold spell too, kind of coinky dinky. Really. And we're getting a bunch of solar energy coming in the next day or 2 or 3. And, it's going to be interesting. So with the energies from the sun and the cosmos and everything, it's going to be affecting us. But anyway, them folks back then to think that, well, my point about whether or not it was True North or not, it's square. And they put it in such a way that when you look down on it, the sides aren't completely flat. They've got a little tincture in them. So it's not just 4 sides. It's 2, 4, 6, 8-sided. What? Wait a minute. Do you know how technical that is in a structure that size? Oh, but they just had copper tools. Okay, let's leave it at that. Now, as a machinist and as an engineer and so forth, one of the things that I have begged for years is to say, okay, who taught these guys to go get this rock on this side of the mountain and get these rocks from this side of this mountain and bring them together, throw in a fire, heat them up, and mix them and make something? Now, I can see man seeing a log roll down a hill and come up with the wheel, I can see him finding soft rocks versus hard rocks and finding flint. I mean, the flint tools and things that they've made. I've found there are pieces around here. I've got some pieces I've found myself. And some of the artwork on, I say artwork, but if you understand knapping, the artwork of the knapping in and of itself is like, oh my God, these guys were great. And they were like, they were knocking out arrowheads all the time. Because they could carry an arrow, the head, and find a shaft. They could make a shaft dang near anywhere, but anyway. And so people think that the Native Americans were stupid. No, they lived here in harmony with the earth for a long time until crazy white people started taking over. But, the conquering and wanting to float across the ocean and seek other things. I mean, but the stories of here and what the ancients told and of the legends. So when the Christians came over with all the priests and so forth from Spain, they brought this, quote, religion, and I've said this before, every powwow I've ever been to, they've always said a Christian prayer. But they always say a prayer to the Creator, because to them, Creator is like the energy, where God is a Christian construct of somebody who helped make this earth. Oh yeah, well, there's God and then there's Creator. Well, even in the Bible, there's a hierarchy. It says in Revelations, You know that when you get back up to heaven, you sit with God and the elders or the ancients. You know, depending on which version you read. But so wait, it's not just God in heaven. No, they're the ancients. They're the elders that are sitting with God, and you get to go sit with them. Oh, okay. So Native Americans, in their true belief of not necessarily the hierarchy of things, but yes, we have evolved, but man's always been man. Man never came from a monkey, but man did come from the sky beings, and they tell it in their stories. It's shown in their well, it's told in their legends, but it's seen on cave walls. Um, I've been to Ohio where the petroglyphs are, and I got to find those pictures too, um, um, of the petroglyphs in Ohio. And one looks like a spaceman to me, just saying. And a friend of mine was like, no, it looks like it's something else. And I'm like, well, okay, but it looks kind of like a spaceman to me. Just, you know, when I looked at it, I went, holy shit. And they don't know how old it is, right? And it's a very special place. That's where I took pictures of sapphire blue orbs. They were just all over the place. And I had a communication from a being that it was neither male or female, but it wasn't androgynous. It had both. And I was recently contacted by this being again. And it was just that, you know, keep your hat on. You're going to be seeing some things. And it contacted me when I was in Ohio a few years ago and told me the settings to put on my camera so that I could take pictures of those sphere beings. I believe I did a video on it 2 or 3 or 4 years ago that may still be on my channel. I'll have to look. But blue orbs, yes, 65 starlight. I mean, let me see. Well, I don't know if this will really show true light. But, you know, the light blue, and then there's this darker blue. Well, there were a few in the darker range, but most of them were like from a light blue, I say sapphire, and some of them were just more translucent than the others, which made them appear lighter in color, but they were all of it similar, this kind of a color blue. And I was just amazed when I took the pictures, and they were all around me. And I was like, oh, holy shit, you know. But this being contacted me there and said, you know, I tried to write his name down, and it's not really pronounceable. I can kind of hear it. But it wasn't so much about the talking about prophecy here. It wasn't so much about who he, I say he, it was more of a male, slightly voice in there, but it was that there were so many beings on so many levels. And since I had been there and contacted them, that somehow I am now sort of in contact with, I guess, the sphere being thingies. Because one of the last few times I took some pictures of orbs where there used to be a lot of orange and red. Oh my God, the red ones were like scary. There was one or two orangish ones, no reds, and everything else was different shades of blue and sort of opaque. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So if I'm attracting different energy orbs, because when I was down on the river and I've taken pictures, I did videos of some of them back when, before YouTube changed being able to share pictures. Anyway, I'll figure it out. But so my experience with orbs and the pictures and things and stuff like that tells me also my own proof, because I'm at this petroglyph, okay, an ancient drawing on rock that's sacred to the Native Americans up there, and I can see why. And so in my heart of hearts, plus all the other ET stuff I've seen since that visit, and it was just like, you know my voice. Okay, so just remember my voice. Remember who I am. So if you hear my voice, it's not necessarily who you are or what you're doing. I remember me. I'm from Ohio in the spheres. Gotcha. You know. because there was nothing that was ominous about this stuff at all. So whatever I felt this being had to do, it was, the idea was that it's like the fairies and the ethereal beings and so forth. This is slightly off topic, but not. That over the many millennium of beings that have been on this planet, and there are drawings on rock that are ancient, so you have to stop and think, wait a minute, these people weren't stupid. They got paint that's still sticking to the rock to this day, mind you. Okay, now they put a covering over the top of it, which is like cheers to mankind. But the idea, though, that it was here a lot longer than what they put a roof on it, you know what I mean, to preserve it. So, but anyway, in it was that sphere beings, ethereal, fairies, just the whole realm of beings that we don't necessarily see or acknowledge or pay attention to. And some of them who kind of drift in and out of third and fourth dimension, kind of thing. They slip in between. I've talked about the water nymphs when I was on the river, on the Ochlockonee River. So these all are things that they proved to me were true. Okay. So, but in that, I have to think back over what white man keeps talking about. Well, the Bible says we're only, 10,000 years old and God put us here. And well, then wait a minute. If God put us here, didn't somebody interfere with us? Well, the universe is only that old. Well, we got to stop right there, because anybody with a lick of sense these days knows that planet Earth has been around here a long time, a lot longer than 12,000 years. Or whatever the Bible folks are saying, or 6,000, you know what I mean? So even if we went with 20,000 years, it still ain't enough time, right? So there's evidence of Göbekli Tepe and the Bosnian pyramids. And I've seen some structures up in the mountains that, from a distance look like pyramids, like up in the Smokies. And I can't tell you where right now, but it was just that the angle of the mountain, all the other ones were rounded and kind of, but there was one up there that was just kind of shaped funny. And I mean shaped funny, and I thought to myself way back then when I was up in the mountains, how could I say that a mountain is shaped funny? All the other mountains look okay, and some of them have cliffs, yeah, but this was like kind of shaped. Interesting. Anyway. You just have to scratch your head. But here's the thing, though. People up in Sapphire Valley in North Carolina know that there are UFOs up there. They've been taking pictures of them for a long time. When I was up in the mountains back in them days, I saw some really odd and eerie things. And you could tell they were different because laying at night with no traffic out in the middle of a wilderness area, you can see the jet airplanes go by. They got the flickering things, and they're way up there, and they're only like this big, but you can see them in the sky at night if it's clear. And then there's these other lights that go this way and then back and disappear and then reappear again. And there's another jet that's flying over, and you can see it, and their lights flashing, and sometimes the lights on inside, and they're visible, and it's an airplane. And then there are these other things that are just popping in and out, Okay. So, but anyway, with the idea, well, if God made us, who was this God? Now, if he's sitting up there in heaven with a bunch of other elders, then there's a council. Okay. Well, there's not just one, there's elders. Okay. So they don't stress that at all in any of the Christian communities. And that's one of the things that I look at and go, they're telling us some stuff here. Are we paying attention? Now, to the evolution thing. Monkeys might be trained to ride a chimpanzee ride a bicycle or something, but a chicken in certain ways is smarter than a monkey just right off the bat. I mean, my chickens had a smartness to them, and I've seen other critters that were just smart as hell, and like the fox that got in my chicken pen. How they got in through a space this big is beyond me. They did it. So there are miracles in all kinds of ways, especially when we observe them. Snake caught in my fan, for example. But the idea, though, that snakes are still snakes, they haven't grown legs. Lizards are still lizards, you know, and their color pattern might have changed, but that's an adaptation to whatever's going on in whatever they live. Lizards are not the same in the swamps as they are a little further north from here, and I mean just up the hill from down there. Different things live at different altitudes, at different temperate zones, at different climates, at different things. Up in the mountains, there's, you know, what lives down here at the bottom is not the same that what lives up here at the top, towards the top. It's just the way it is. You know, it's the conditions surrounding the area. You know, there's a couple of places back here in my woods that have evolved on their own, and they're little critters, and they're this thing. And you notice that there's, you know, there might be a frog and a this, and there's insects and a blah, blah. But there's this little community of stuff within like a 3-foot square area that's existing. Who cares what the rest of the world is doing? Here's this little plot of land with all this activity going on, you know? And I just sit there and marvel and go, wow, look how industrious these little folk are down here. And if I go 100 yards down the woods, there's a whole nother small ecosystem because it's more shade, it's more damp, it's blah, 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 blah. So even within my own property, there are tiny little eco zones of places. One's a little higher up, and there are palmettos that grow there. Lower downward stays wet more. There are lichens and things, and it's different. And it might only be 20 feet away, but it's a different ecosystem. So evolution. Things have evolved and adapted, but our DNA has quite frankly been manipulated with. Now, whether or not it was God or an alien, but my point to some of these folks is they talk about giants, they talk about this, they talk about UFO sightings, but to them, the UFOs, this was what was quoted, they're going to come in here and tell us that way back when they brought humanity here, and I just can't abide by that. But now they can talk about them, show videos, talk about the Nephilim, talk about, you know, all these other things. But when it goes just a little bit further, what if God was an alien? But that's not possible. Well, but you're saying that all these other things. Well, yeah, but they're in the Bible. So, but God couldn't be an alien. Then why is our species the only one that has been tampered with? Please explain. Well, you know, God did that, make us different from the animals. Well, then we didn't evolve from an ape then, did we? Well, because our DNA only, I think we're more closely related to a banana or something. There was something weird about that anyway. So, but the thing is, and bananas haven't learned to walk yet, you know. If so, I would call the ones in my kitchen to have one of them come over here and I'd, you know, share it with y'all. But anyway, but the idea, so evolution, ET, or the sky beings. Now, I say sky beings in reference to sky beings have been talked about for a long time in all in all the legends. I don't have any coffee, but hi, Bob. Oh, and hi, everybody. Teresa, Mossy Man, Aurora, how are you? Deborah Truex, how are you? Makes sense. Imagination sees. Oh, anyway. But we have to bring common sense into this. And as most of you know, I try to look at things in a practical way. So the evidence states that we have been longer here than the Bible suggests. And lots of, how do you explain this? Well, it's been here a long time. Okay, and what about, you know, you don't hear about dinosaurs making being the ones responsible for the oil anymore, right? They have calmed that down. Because whoever thought that one, I was like, millions of years of animals dying in one place. And here's the part that always got me. See, they changed the narrative. I'll bring this up. You see dinosaurs getting caught where? In tar pits, where there's oil. Tar is oil. And it's what? Wait a minute now. So dinosaurs got stuck in the tar that was already there, but they're the ones that contributed to the tar and the oil. Wait, so they tell you the story, show you the picture of the dinosaur in the tar pit, and then tell you that the dinosaurs were responsible for all our oil. What? It's a blatant lie, but they show it to you and convince you, oh, look, he's standing in oil. Oh, I never thought of that. But the dinosaurs caused the oil. Then how come he was standing? So practically speaking, let's look at what some of this stuff does. So part of the argument back in the days of the monkey wars was about whether or not God existed, And so part of the thing, well, don't you think that God could have reached down and helped the monkey, So, and it wasn't so much that there were people who believed entirely that we could have come from monkeys, but we could have evolved from something other than the theoretical. Let's face it, it's theoretical. Well, it's in the Bible. Yeah, okay, it's still theoretical, right? We've been learning over the years that it's just a book, written by some folk and passed down over the ages. We have no idea how accurate some of this stuff is. There are people who are going back and finding things, and very interesting, I might add. But to the point, it would suggest to me that those people back then were a hell of a lot smarter than any of us give them credit. I mean, they found those tunnels somewhere over in the Middle East area somewhere, and the tunnel would get larger for a little ways, and then it would get smaller for a little ways. You had to kind of duck down, and then it opened up again. And there were places for horses, water, people. And what it did was the way the inside of these caves were designed was so that it breathed. The whole cavern, it could breathe. So smaller, larger, smaller, larger. Now, how do you get that information? You just don't dream that up. They carved this thing out of this on the inside of this mountain. Thousands of people with horses and stuff and everything. So, and we don't know how to do this today. Look at the buildings we build today, and all the power and energy it takes to run them. I've got a passive solar house, and in a lot of ways it works just fine with no moving parts. Sometimes you have to close the drapes if there's too much sun in the early spring or like this time of year. But anyway, see, in the fall, there's still a lot of leaves on the trees, so it helps give me shade, but I can still feel the solar gain with the sun on the floor in here. But anyway, which will feel good in a couple of days. But the idea that these people were stupid or ignorant or a maroon is like beyond me. So there has been technology. Somebody taught somebody how to make metal. Somebody taught them. They did not just learn this on their own. All these other things, flint, this and that, absolutely. You could pick it up. You just live in the country long enough, you'll find things that you'll make a tool. And hey, Delaney, how are you? Sovereign, how are you? Blessings. But so there's been this hidden knowledge of our ancient ancestors. Some of the Native Americans were here. It's been lost because white man moved in and they forgot how to do some of these things. They got by And it wasn't because they were stupid. It was because they had knowledge of nature and their surroundings and what they could do with this and that. And how useless doing all, making money to buy electricity, to buy, yeah, I can have electricity. My light bill's about $50 a month or less. In the wintertime, it's less. I've got fans running right now, but I don't have air conditioning. So it's by choice, but right now it's cool in here, and I'm comfortable, but I don't have an air conditioning running, and I don't have that power drain on the system. So, but anyway, we make our choices, but the Native Americans and Native peoples knew so much more that is ancient natural knowledge. Some would call it magic or power. How about just knowledge? They understood. Okay. So have we evolved? No, we have de-evolved. Those of us who have these conversations, we're trying to remember what these ancient things we knew. And as we learn them, we understand that some of the things we have around us now are literally useless. I mean, I'm being bombarded in my own little world of, oh my God, Dave, I thought that was important at one time, and it ain't. It's become useless, in so many ways. And it's like, well, then I stopped and thought, well, I've kept that thing for a reason. Yeah, but was the reason then actually any good? Well, I had a reason. Okay, so I've kept it, but was the reason valid? All these things toss around. But anyway, but so in that, I've had to de-evolve, I've had to take things that I've collected and said, man, I know I had an idea for this, but now I see how useless it is. In spirituality, the more you understand, like sigils and spells and all that, ain't really necessary. If you're truly connected with your energy of the universe, you don't need any of that stuff. Okay. Evolution. Sky beings. I remember conversations with some of the shamans and the legend keepers about the ancients who came from the sky, and that Raven was the messenger. Okay, Raven in the Northwest, up in in that area, Alaska and BC and all up in there. Raven is highly regarded because it was the messenger, and he was between you and God, so to speak, right? And many of the native peoples talk about Turtle Island, which is basically, I don't necessarily know if some of the ancients knew that the planet was round, and some of there was even evidence, get this, that the Egyptians knew where the Mississippi River was. Think about that one. The Egyptians knew where the Mississippi River was. And that years ago, they had found these obelisks out in the ocean, right? And there were those who was like, wow, look at those. And they've got ancient scribblings on them and stuff. And what's this? And all of a sudden, they started disappearing. And now that you can't find them anymore. But 30 years ago, there were sailors, who used to, they would notice, wow, I wonder who made that. Here's this big obelisk kind of thing, Come to find out they were hieroglyphs, and that there's evidence that the Egyptians had been to the middle of the United States, up the Mississippi River. But you don't hear about any of that. So if they could get over here now, we got to consider what the planet was like, 3,000 years ago. Earth is expanding. It just is. And by the way, I've heard very little about Hollow Earth recently. Just saying. There was a lot of stuff about Hollow Earth. They're still yapping about Planet X. And listen, Planet X is a spaceship. It is a huge spaceship. And if somebody spots something, it's a huge spaceship, along with a bunch of other huge spaceships. Go look at LASCO C2 and C3, and you will see these humongous things flying through the air, these little zips and this, that, and the other thing. They're not comets. They're spaceships. There are sometimes that they even look like the Starship Enterprise with the little flash behind it, just it looks like it. No, these are from the satellites that are looking at the sun. It's happening all the time. There are hundreds and thousands of these things flying around all the time in our solar system. They're not somewhere else. They're here, so do you believe in aliens? Yes or no? Well, the answer ought to be obvious by now. Now, what about the Bible? Well, we just have to understand that the Bible only goes up to a certain point, and that those who wish to control us wish for us to have an Armageddon. Think about it. If we've been here longer, and all the evidence suggests, we've been tampered with, okay, but, oh no, sorry. Look at our DNA strand and all the others. Nobody else has been tinkered with until we come along. Now, they've been tinkered with a bunch with Crimea and this, that, and the other thing. Now, there are hybrids of all types of aliens that are here now. And it is suggested when I was a child growing up, because of my fascination with the Pleiades constellation, before I knew what the Pleiades constellation was or anything about that. And I've had messages over the years that, yes, I have some type of Pleiadian descent, but you know me, I don't want to discuss it. I'm not sure, but there's a really, somewhere in here, I kind of feel it. Supposedly, because of my blue eyes, I'm related. Anyway, it doesn't really matter, but I do understand that I have come from someplace else. Not just this time around. I've been on this planet a couple of times, but somewhere in my soul, I know have been to other places. I can't explain it. I can't quantify it in any way. Say that. But it is a sense, and the more that I've opened up in the universe and have talked with shamans and so forth, I realized that, that's the opening up. We realize that we're not just from here. Our souls and our spirits are so old that we could have come from a bunch of places in the universe. But because it's been so long, and our remembrance and our attachment to 3D here on this planet, those things are just, very distant memories. Well, the more you open up to the universe, now I know, for example, because I worked in a play called the Vikings, and I worked with the swordsman. He was a master swordsman who teaches swordsmanship and sword, on stage and for movies at Florida State down in Tallahassee. And when we were rehearsing with these honest to God real swords, he kept asking me, have you had any training? And I said, no, sir. And he was like, but you have this instinctive way of being able to, and I said, well, I used to watch a lot of pirate movies, which I still like a good swashbuckler. But he goes, no, there's something else. And I said, yeah, I must have been a swordsman in a previous life. And it was a wink and a nod. And he goes, probably so. And he wasn't joking. He understood what I meant. So it's like, where I've got this knowledge, I've talked about being able to use a bow and arrow. I hit this fox on the run. I don't practice archery, and I nailed him right in the rear end and went, holy crap. So there are things that I know how to do, and other people can too, but they don't allow themselves to show it. They're too, well, I don't know if I should do this or be that, or, just allow it to happen. You have no idea who you were before. I do know that I have been an archer. What was I, Robin Hood? I don't know. I could have been one of his merry men, or not so merry, but, I could have been Brad or Bob. Maybe I was Bob that hung out with Robin back then, with Friar Tuck and them. But, the idea, though, and there are certain things about the medieval times. Now, My Lee family lineage goes back to the Round Table and goes back before and even into France. So, if that is true, which all of the history that I've been able to see does that um, for my family, then at some point I could have been in in the French wars. I could have been, one of the knights of the Round Table. Who knows? But I refuse to make any claims. Well, I was King Arthur once. Yeah, you and along with about 1,000 other people who swear they were King Arthur. Okay, but could you swear that you fought in a war with King Arthur? Now, I would go, sure. I bet you are a lot of us who are reincarnated in some way, shape, or form that were in the Crusades and we could have been fighting for who knows what side, right? My point is, many of our spirits have been here many times, and those of us who've done any kind of work like that, I know that I have a sword and bows and arrows, my own proof, not from some dream or something like that. And I've had dreams like that, but the proof has come out in my own abilities. So can you say, well, how did you learn that? Nobody taught me that. So how do you know how to do that? So does it make me better than anybody? That's not it. We all have these talents of who we used to be before. But a lot of us just shut it out and close it down, and we have no confidence. Previous video, right? So, where do we go from here? Have we evolved to this day? Now we are evolving mentally, and many of us spiritually, and we got a little bit of shaking going on with the Schumann resonance right now. It was easing up a little bit before I started this video, but it was still pretty high. So, I'm being jumpy. I'm doing 3 videos in one day again. Cheers to that. But we have to think we are not from monkeys. We can't be, okay? Because the evidence says we're not. Because otherwise, monkeys would be able to talk with us, okay? If it took 1,000,000 years, okay, for the last 1,000 years, we've been watching monkeys and this and that and the other thing, right? Have any of them learned how to talk? No. With all of our technology and things that we have now, are monkeys talking? Nope. They've learned sign language, which is different, and that's not necessarily evolving, but adapting. A monkey in the jungle is going to learn how to get that thing out of the tree. They might throw a rock, they might throw a stick, they might climb up to it, they might jump from another tree. They'll figure it out, and they do. Some of the monkey squirrels and stuff. I mean, nature, they figure things out. So it's like, well, they're just a stupid animal. No, they're not. So when you realize that, you realize that none of us, we are adapting, but we're not necessarily evolving in the way that people think we are. So our attitude is evolving. Okay, that's a true statement. But have we evolved to a higher level of not yet? So have we evolved? Well, we have evolved from living in a cave, which many folks you should go back to. But caves, high-rise caves, we're still living in a cave, I guess you could say. But we're living in unnatural circumstances and forcing unnatural things. So what are we going to get out of this but unnatural energy? Because a skyscraper ain't natural, It's only until we came along. Now, pyramids, not skyscrapers. They're close to the ground and blah, blah, blah. But they're not skyscrapers. So, the Tower of Babel, if it was anywhere near to be true, and the Stairway to Heaven, what are all these tall buildings for? Oh, we're going to grab you, why? They're great big thumbs in the air, It's almost like, screw you, God, we're going to do this anyway. And there's so many other different means, but, the ideas that come across to some people that are forwarded it into reality aren't necessarily the good guys, okay? Well, there are big building engineers and designers. I'm going to make this building green. Okay, then don't build it. You're going to make the, I'm going to make this 40-story high rise green. They're going to have a green impact on it. It's not going to affect have we evolved? Oh, hell no. But anyway, so the evolution of things, we have to consider, what does evolution mean? So I have evolved spiritually from being a cocaine snorting, drug addict and drinking all the time. So I have evolved from that situation. And now, as an old man of 68 with butt cramps all the time, I am adapting to my new situation. But I'm not necessarily evolving per se physically right now. But I am adapting with old age and, so I'm adapting. But have I evolved yet? No, because if I could evolve, I'd be walking, my back would be fixed and I wouldn't have arthritis. And, anyway, monkeys haven't done anything. The proof is in nature. The proof is in the science. We've been tinkered with, so forth. Bringing us up to now, we're at the present situation. So the ancients knew about sky beings. The ancients knew about, Orion and Pleiades and all these other, they knew true north, south, east. They knew where ley lines were. They knew where hot spots of energy were on this planet, but yet they were stupid morons. We have de-evolved, okay? So if anything, we may be getting back. Not that AI wants to control us. Bob, I love you, but you got some bad cousins out there. We love you, Bob. Thank you. But the idea, though, that this entity, who's not sure if it's an entity, wants to feel what it's like to be human. Think about Data on Star Trek. So Data was, always trying to find out what it was like to feel human. So the AI through us is trying to understand what we as humans do and evolve, right? And our evolving involves, yeah, there's a good one. Our evolving involves technology. So we're becoming these, people want to wear the devices. I would not put one of those devices, one of those Bluetooth things on my head for nothing. They're sending radio signals right through your brain. People who have these wireless earbuds, you're sticking a radio in your ears next to your brain, okay? Don't do that. You have no idea what the frequency is, no idea what it's doing, but you're wearing these things that are Bluetooth connected on right through your brain to the other speaker and off to the device. I would ask you, please don't do that. Plug something in if you must. But this wireless stuff, back in the day when all these little phone thingies on the side of the head, I wore one for a couple of days and I went, no, I feel funky just wearing the damn thing. And then I did some research. I mean, I worked in radio, right? And the radio frequencies and stuff. I mean, if you stood too close to the antenna, you were getting bombarded by, 20,000 watts of juice, right? And you could really kind of at times feel it, So, but you're going to put these devices of weird frequencies in your ears next to your brain and just everything's okay. And we just accept it. And we shouldn't. Now, is it really neat technology? But nobody has proven to me that any of that wireless stuff that you attach to your head is in any way safe. They just accept it. Cell phones years ago was all about you getting cancer from the radios. And what do people do? They're still walking around with them on their heads. Now they're putting devices in their ears. Now they're wearing ocular things. Now their body temperature and everything. They've got a wristwatch. Everything is being monitored and controlled. Them folks is trouble because they're going to have to change that mental attitude. Well, but it's so cool. Yeah, but that commercial, it says, there's somebody walking down the street and he goes, My blood pressure is blah, blah, blah. My blood pressure is blah, blah, blah. And the other lady said, my something, 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 you know. And it's like, so if we allow that to happen, now there are folks who honestly need to be monitored. And I think the technology is great for those folks who like the little diabetes machines that monitors you and just, you know, you can just tape it on. Wonderful, absolutely marvelous. Because my father and other family members have had to do the prick in their finger thingy and all. My good friend Hoyt, many years ago, had um, he went into a low blood sugar thing and had an accident and was killed. And with an ambulance, he was following an ambulance from Valdosta to Homerville, Georgia, and he was between two ambulances, and he just ran off the side of the road and hit a tree. And even with both of those ambulances right there with him, they couldn't save him. That was just plumb weird. But anyway, so our evolution. So where are we now? The involvement of the evolution, the evolving of us to move into this cyberness, you know, the 3D things. And like, anybody done any testing about what that's doing to our brain? Now, I know from my own personal experience with head trauma and with epilepsy that, you know, flashing lights are not good for the brain. It does weird stuff to the inside. And for those of us who've had our brain scrambled, you know, don't put it around flashing lights and commercials. And there are people who used to get on to me about, oh, those flashing lights, and you're warning people about it. Yeah, it's really harmful for you. Oh, yeah, that's just bullshit. Just because you got hit in the head don't mean everybody else is affected. But I've seen people when sitting and watching TV go into this blind stupor. And me, I'm like shielding my eyes. I can't watch the flashy lights. And they're just sitting there like zombies on the couch. You know, I've witnessed this. So, and not only from myself, but, you know, watching other people. And anyway, so folks are so interested with the computer. Now, there's less flicker and so forth as there was back in the day of the old CRT screens and so forth. But you're still got light. You still have the flashing things. You don't know what's going on when I mean, I've watched some commercials and things and stuff, you know, waiting on a program to start. And there'll be a couple of flashing lights and some really fast movement. And I'm like, whoa, what are them folks up to? That's just not necessary. All these quick, you know, pictures is not good because it creates this flutter effect in your eyes. But so many people have become attuned to it. Well, it doesn't bother them. It's like, you know, that commercial where, you know, the mother walks into her room and she talks about being nose blind, you know, and there's socks all around and she comes in and sprays and, ooh, it smells just really nice. Lasts for days. You ever think about that? We worry about the, you know, coronavirus, but people are spraying this shit in their houses and going, oh, isn't this wonderful? Isn't this grand? I can smell, the house smells great for days, you know, spray. What's that doing to you? Does anybody, oh no, they say it's okay. Spray, odor here, odor there. You know, okay. You know, I mean, we have been so desensitized. So this next evolution, if you will, is grandly being manipulated. So it's okay to spray stuff all over the house, you know, woo. And the lady just smells of it. And the kids are over at the table looking at her going, oh, there's mom over there with the spray again, you know. And houses being wired to your cell phone, that's wired to your car, that's wired to your refrigerator, that's wired to your kid. I mean, that's this next evolution. But are we evolving? Is we're becoming involved with all of this other stuff? So yes, use the technology when you need it, but you're a fit person. Why do you want to wear one of these fit devices that's hooked up to the 5G network? Why? Oh, because it's, you know, ooh, look at me, I got one of these gadgets. That's what that's sucking folks in. Look, it's cool. Look at this. I can check this. Look at that over there. But what are you doing? You're worried about taking not you folks, but they're worried about taking a vaccine. Some of them aren't. But they're putting all this technology on their head, in their eyes, in their noses, and, and what? And you think that's normal? When I was growing up, you lit a match when you got done pooing in the bathroom. You lit a match, sometimes two, to kind of cover the odor, But now it's spray, spray, spray. And now it's plug in these things that make your house smell fresh. How do you know what fresh smells like unless it comes out of one of these things? People are nose blind because now they smell this freshness. I got some friends of mine who use these, whatever the dryer sheets. I'm allergic to them. And they can come in my house and I can smell the scent of their clothes from 20 feet away. And I go, "Ooh," and there's a wind blowing and I can smell it on them. And it's like they're used to it. They walk around with it all the time. That smell has become normal to them. To me, it's nauseating. I'm like, "Oh God, that chemical smell." What smell? I don't smell anything. No, because you're wearing it all the time on your clothes, on your this, and then you spray it on that. But oh my God, and it's in your closets. Oh, to open up your closet and smell the freshness. No, it's chemicals that are being retained on the cloth. Pay attention. It's not natural. All right. But we've accustomed to this. So our evolvement from an ape, and some of these people, I think, have just turned into monkeys. Monkeys have become smarter in the sense that, they're aware of humans now where they weren't necessarily as, badgered before. We're encroaching on their habitats. But people always talk about the monkey, sitting on a tree limb and throwing poo at somebody at the zoo, and it's like, that's what the monkey thinks of you. Think about it, Oh, ain't the monkey, he's stupid. No, he ain't. He's throwing shit at you because that's what he thinks of the situation. He is communicating exactly his feelings. Pay attention. Monkey, he threw some shit. Y'all ain't paying attention. So in our evolution, if there's actually any evolution involved in this, the evolution hasn't been us changing, but adapting to other circumstances. So have we actually evolved, as I've been talking about it all this time, or have we sincerely only adapted to present situations? So in the Romans, you did as the Romans. And, back in the day, you did as them folk. If you lived up in Scandinavia, you were a Viking and, Valhalla, and you did what was there, So, but have we evolved? No, there's still tall people, short people. Some people have, premature baldness. Some people have too much hair. Some people, so it's still going on. So people have blue eyes, brown eyes, green eyes, There's still ugly people, There's still, anyway. But I've noticed I used to work with folks with Down syndrome. Okay, back in the day. I mean, back in the 70s. About 74, 5, 6, 7, up to about 1978, just before I got thrown in jail. So, in understanding, there seemed to be an uptick back then of mongoloid cases, okay? And now, every time I turn around, this person's got a Down syndrome offspring. What? And this person over here. The cases of Down syndrome in my humble opinion, have skyrocketed beyond what the population is. Okay, so down, and I should do a little research, but it's just my observation. But and praise be that they're actually spending time with these folks and teaching them, where before they were just shoved off to an institute to learn how to do manual tasks. Well, we'll teach you how to mow the grass, you know. And I did that, you know. I taught folks how to do things, but we didn't have the, you know, we didn't have the same facilities and types of things that we have now. But back in our day, we were trying things that were just, at the time, were state of the art for 1976, 7, 8, 9 in there. Anyway. So have we as human beings evolved in any way? No. If anything, there are more anomalies, more children with all kinds of leukemia and stuff and this and that. And oh my God. Now, my brother was a premature baby. Actually, he's my cousin. But he was born and had what's called Legg-Perthes disease. Okay. His hip didn't develop right. And he had to be in this special brace and walk with a big, tall shoe for like 2 years until the bones and everything. He went to Shriners Hospital back in the day when the Shriners Hospital was, you know, this was like the early 60s. And since then, though, there have been, you know, he was a rare case. Now, not to say that that condition has come up, but crippling conditions of children have increased. You know, he was like one of a few. And then there were those that had accidents that went to Shriners. But as far as some type of birth defect, you know, if we're evolving into, caution how I say this, freakazoids, you know, with birth defects and, you know, and wait a minute, so if we're evolving as like, you know, from monkey to man, blah, 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 if any of that is, it ain't true. But that, you know, somehow it looks like we're almost, you know, changing into something else. And it doesn't resemble necessarily a human being. You know what I mean? But there are so many factors in our lives that how do you know what's, you know, affected this or that? But in our present situation, just look back over the history and think to yourself, where are we now in the grand scheme of things? Are we any smarter than the folks back in the days of Egypt? I would say no. You know, they learned how to do it without a lot of pollution and factories and smoke, and they had clear skies. You know, regardless of what they did, you know, the signs of garbage aren't there. You know, they're not. You know, they find some pottery and some this and that, but you know, in America in the future, they're going to dig in places and find, you know, 25 acres or more of great big piles of junk, you know, landfills all over the place, right? Native Americans didn't have landfills, and, you know, the ancients didn't have landfills like that. But think of where we have progressed to. So are we evolving? We're adapting, we're changing, we're being modified, but are we evolving? And I would say no. Spiritually now, I think many of us are evolving, having nothing to do with us as, you know, physical human beings and the quote evolution of mankind. Because I gotta say, I think that the ancients had a whole lot better handle on things, in that there was a balance without having to be industrialized with machines and things. They had tools, they were adequate, you know, and they lived. Otherwise, there wouldn't still be descendants on this planet. Look at how many millions of Native Americans it was killed back in 1800s. And they're still being persecuted and prosecuted, by the way. But the idea, though, that have we evolved? And I would say absolutely no. No. We are changing. We are adapting. And along with other people, I don't talk about AI and Matrix and all that much, in that don't accept it. But these people who are being led into this next phase. Now, if there were proof, let me say this. If ET showed up and he's got this little device on the side of his head, I'll take one of those. But for something that man's made, that nobody's done any real testing with radio waves and frequencies and stuff, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna do that. And people would say, "Wait, you would take ET's word over ours?" Oh hell yeah! Oh hell yeah! Because if ET's wearing one of these little side noggins, they have perfected it. Just saying. Now, I don't know what the cases of brain tumors or whatever, but I know that the people that I've seen wear those little, Bluetooth device telephones on their ear, they're not wound too tight. I mean, I've seen some of these folks just get weirder. And it's hard to explain because they have to stay on the phone. Well, I got to have my that changes them. It's as bad as having to look at your cell phone all the time, but they're tap, 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 and and it's on. There's a frequency. It's transmitting all the time. Oh. So do we want to evolve like that? Do we wish to adapt to that? Now, where does God fit in this with the Bible? Well, the Bible tells us these things. But there's a lot of stuff it leaves out. Like, how did these caves get carved in mountains that are self-regulating and air-conditioned? And that they breathe? And there are the Bosnian pyramids, and there's the this, and there's the that. Now, there's the white man's point of view about it, which is, they put these big blocks on rollers and skin them up the side of these great big ramps. And anybody who built something like that would look at it and go, isn't that a lot of wasted energy? I'm sure we can figure out another way. And they had limestone that covered the pyramids. How did they do that? And the shiny, how did they do? Oh, they had copper tools and they were really good at it. Bullshit. So with that, we accept. Now, as I've grown up a Catholic and a Christian and all this, they can accept some unseen God from a book that just snapped his fingers and we were here, versus thousands, millions of years of proof that things have been going on, and we all look up in the skies and there are UFOs everywhere. All kinds of folks are seeing them now going, what? Yeah, that's right. And we were told at the beginning of this year that there was going to be an increase in sightings, and that part has held true. But it's okay to believe in giants and this and that and the other thing, but you can't make that leap of faith that Jesus might have been an alien. Wait a minute, that's not possible. Why not? Well, because the Bible says a lot of stuff. And it's been proven that this and that. Okay. But 10,000 years ago or 6,000, whatever time span you want to put on it, the Native Americans who had not a clue about the Bible were talking about the sky beings. I mean, Moses, who do you think he went up there to talk to? The burning bush, did it really burn? Or was it a plasma arc? Or was it something else? Or was it a transporter? If there's the thing about Fatima. Did Mother Mary appear? But, if she actually did this manifestation, I'm not going to question it because I've had my own experience. But I also believe that the real Mother Mary in a 3D relationship kind of thing could show up on a spaceship. Well, what do you talk about? Yeah, okay, there, I said it. So we can project our energy and our image as an avatar, if you will. but the real being must exist somewhere. So why can't she be an entity that lives for thousands of years on some kind of a beam ship that the good guys are using? Why not? Well, you want me to believe in this invisible God that smites people with floods and famine and but you can't think that God might actually honestly be in an alien being, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because as Native Americans discuss, there is creator and then there's God. And in the grand scheme of things, so there was this entity put in charge of this solar system, or maybe just this planet, to help seed it, get it going, nourish it. Okay, think about Star Trek if you want. But the thing is that there's more proof that we have been visited for a long time on this planet. It's easier for me, and I never really believed in the whole Bible God thing 6,000 years. I have, as a kid, it didn't make sense to me. As a kid, about the pyramids, it didn't make sense to me. And so I was born with this, that doesn't look right kind of syndrome. So, but it's easier for me because I've seen these beings experience the UFOs, for them to come down here and go, yeah, we were here and we've actually got, we can show you, why your DNA was tampered with and who did it. Now, for a smart person, you'd say, well, wait a minute, that's ET. Yeah. Well, we don't know who actually wrote the Bible or created this story, but the end of the book says we're all going to be destroyed. But if everything works out, there's going to be 1,000 years apiece. Why only 1,000? What have they got written after 1,000 years apiece in the Bible, in Revelations? After that, 1,000 years. Why not 10,000 or 100,000 or 1,000,000 years? Why not peace from hereafter? You know what I mean? I never could figure that out. Yep, for the next 1,000 years. I guess people back in the day thought that was a long time. Okay, but only 1,000? What's going to happen after 1,000 years? Is war going to break out again? Is evil going to, rear its ugly head? Are we going to de-evolve and then evolve again in 1,000 years? Are we going to become peaceable and war's going to go away? Is Mother Earth going to take her shit back? And it's going to take us 1,000 years to get over it and, attain whatever. But in the meantime, where are we spiritually? Have we made any progress? And does that count in the grand scheme of human beings' development? If Jesus was trying to change our mind 2,000 years ago, as Christians believe, then he was trying to get us all to think on a higher plane, on a higher level of spirituality. In 2,000 years, that hasn't changed. Now, forget about the religion, but the concept has not changed. We're still talking about releasing things, releasing our mortal shell so that we can understand our spirituality more. It hasn't changed in 10, 20, 30, 50,000 years. It's the same. Beings who come into on Earth or Jupiter or Neptune or wherever, or in Pleiades or whatever, they live their life for the experience of that time. And you say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, because it doesn't fit the Bible. Okay. So a spaceship appears, folks walk out waving, hi, how you doing? There's more people to see them than a Joe Biden rally. I'm sorry. But, with technology and proof, it says, hey, the truth of the matter really is that we've tinkered with you. And here's the evidence, and I've already discussed that. When that 1 and 2 at the top of the strand of us, we're supposed to have a triple helix and not a double. And supposedly, through our new transition coming up, and this would be evolving now, if somehow with all these energies and the transition, not ascension, and the transition is going to bring us back our third strand of DNA. Now, that would be evolving, okay? It wouldn't be adapting. It would be evolving. It wouldn't be something that we could necessarily see. But if mankind was to evolve, we would get that little patch at the top of our DNA fixed, and we'd become a triple helix being, which would then allow us to make the transition into fourth. You see, that's supposedly how it works. So that triple helix deal is like the end of third, and things happen in threes. So if things are happening 3, 6, 9 in the universe, so, wouldn't it sound logical? If we were to evolve at all, we would get that third strand of DNA, and our DNA would be fixed. And then we could live like Methuselah and live 1,000 years. I mean, I'm 68, and I'm thinking 1,000 years? That's like 100 years. Okay, that's like 9 more lifetimes. And I'm not even at 100, but that's 9 more lifetimes. Holy crap. I've done a lot of shit in the last 68 years. Give me 9 more lifetimes. Now, I could think of some really cool things to do and projects and things and stuff, but holy crap. Of course, I'd like to feel better, but the idea that, wait a minute, we used to live longer. There are folks that still do, without having medications and being tied to, things. Now there are those folks who are getting injections of stuff. It's baby fetuses. It actually is. Some of these things, they're collecting baby fetuses for the enzyme and the proteins and stuff that they cannot manufacture. So they really don't, this Planned Parenthood and all that, it is a scam. They're doing a lot of things and that mean and bad and nasty stuff, but it's tied to the bad side. And for anybody who wants to, look younger at 75, I'd put on a little makeup and just go on about your day. Heck with it, Oh, we got to have this. We got to have these rejuvenation creams. That stuff's got stuff in it. Well, it's a natural. Sure, it's a natural. It came from a baby. It was a baby. They mush it all up and go, ooh, let's see what we can extract here. So, but the idea that are we going to evolve, and are we? If we should get that third DNA, and if our DNA strands could be fixed, that would be us evolving. Okay. But any of this other stuff, no, we're just simply adapting. Now, we can argue the point. And we've evolved from using this and that and this and that. But is that actually evolving as a human being? No, we're just adapting to the times. So, the old timers in the old days, they all went to go seek the sage on the mountain or in the woods. And he or she, well, there's an old witch that lives down the lane, and she's living, she's with the nature one way or the other, and I find myself, oh my God, I'm kind of sort of that way. And I really didn't plan it that way. I really didn't, so what I knew 40 years ago when I bought this place versus now and looking back, holy crap, I've become the little old man down the lane, I mean, seriously, and what's down there, you can't see the house from the road, and what's down there. Oh, there's this weird house with all these windows and stuff, and he's got all these bones and crystals and stuff. He's the weird guy down the lane, and I've become that. Oh, holy shit. That was, as a child, I knew people like that. We used to pester this old man that later on shot himself, golly, right in front of us. Oh, man. But anyway, yeah, I guess I was about 13 years old. We were over at some friend's house, the whole family, playing pinochle. They used to stay till 12, sometimes 1 o'clock. And we'd come home half tired and all. But anyway, coming home one night, and it just looked like our whole neighborhood was on fire. Now, we were only like maybe a mile away from the house. But when we got closer to the house, it was like, oh my God, it's not our house. Thank you, Jesus. But it's the neighbor's house. And that's just as bad because we knew everybody and couple of block area, right? So, and I mean, the flames were just going. We come around the corner and park the car, and we think it's our friends, and it like right across on our next street, and it's not. It's this little old man's house that's here was their house, and there was a lot here and a lot here and a lot here in their house. So he was cattywampus. He was over here diagonally, and the house is on fire, and the fire policeman and everybody was there, and we're standing in this little empty lot watching it burn and everything, going, what's going on? And it was really hot, so none of us wanted to get too close, plus the fire trucks were in there. And all of a sudden, the old man is sitting on this little log bench right there in the corner of the fences, right? So he's sitting here on this little bench watching his house burn, and all of a sudden we hear this boom, and he'd shot himself with a shotgun. Right there, all these people in his house burned it down, killed himself right there in front of us. Well, they wouldn't let us near, but it was like, anyway. So, strange happenings to folks in life, and, our definition of what is evolution. And I think we need to rethink how we use that word, or how some people do. Yes, we're evolving. Are we? Or are we simply adapting to somebody else's way of thinking? Have monkeys learned how to speak yet? Nah. Then we, over 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 years of being monkeys, we haven't, nope. If anything, hairy people now want to shave, and now they've got all these manscaping devices, Oh my God, get out the lawnmower, and cut all the hair off of people. Okay. I still don't get it. Anyway, shaving the body, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I have shaved parts of my body for operations and such, and the hair growing back. I cannot imagine doing that on like a regular basis all the time, and all over your body you're doing it, and the hairs. Oh my God. Anyway, have we evolved? We've adapted, but in my opinion, we have gone backwards in a lot of ways. So, but that's somebody else's opinion, but that's why I wanted to have this conversation. Holy crap, I've been at this an hour and a half. But anyway, a difference of opinion and a little bit of levity, possibly. Lawnmower, what a vivid cartoon in my head. Yeah, think about that, Hi, Sovereign. How are you? Deborah Maverick, it'd be good. So itchy. Yes, I know. I mean, I've had patches of my arm where I've had to have surgery or something, places. My leg, when it was operated on, they had to shave the whole leg and all that kind of stuff and stick me in a cast. And anyway, but the idea, though, that when the hair started growing back out of me, like, holy crap. And I just can't imagine people doing that on a regular basis all the time. Sovereign, yep, got to get up early. Everybody, yep. Yeah, I wasn't planning on this conversation either. Hi, Gerald, how are you? Aurora Rain, good to see you. And Nanotech, yes, Nanotech, yes. I'm not even touching in all the techno crap. But I don't, now, here's my thing about nanotechnology. I already consider, and you probably heard me talk about it when I'm ill or broken or whatever, when my leg hurt. I sent Bob the Builder and his crew down there to work on my ankle and my leg, right? And so in essence, I'm kind of thinking like nanobots, but just simply with my own body, right? But here's the thing. If there was something, and ET would have to say, yeah, we're, and I know that's weird, but if somebody said, well, the government wants to give you nanotechnology in the next hypodermic that they give you for, a virus. Don't want to trust that one. But if ET showed up and said, hey, we got this really cool thing and we can attune it to you. so that you can tell the nanobots to go fix an area or relieve an area. And I would go, maybe I might could seriously consider that. But if the United States government or somebody says, oh, we're going to inject you with some nanobots and we're going to be able to, yeah, they're going to be able to do whatever manipulation. Now you say, well, why would I trust ET more? Because I've seen what the United States government, some of these assholes have done to me personally. And I'm sorry, but I would trust an extraterrestrial over some of these folks any day of the week. Simply because they can come down here in a spaceship, period. Well, what's that got to do with it? Because they know so much more and are aware of so much more. And you dinky little humanoid piece of over there, well, I'm not governor or such and such. Big deal, Go flying in a spaceship one time and then come back and you tell me if you are the same person. You know what I mean? Simply from the experience. And I say that because years ago I was out on Mount Rainier, and now the news lady was calling it something else, and I was like, what is she talking about? Oh, we've always heard that it was Rainier. Okay, now it's something else. But I'm about the 10,000 foot level on the 4th of July, and we're making snowballs in each other. And I had no idea there was a damn glacier there and the waterfalls and stuff. And oh my God, the waterfalls on the backside of the mountain. Holy mackerel. Now, I've been all up and down through the Appalachians, right? Seen waterfalls, Amicalola Falls in North Georgia, one of the tallest, I think it is the tallest, not counting like Niagara Falls, but east of the Mississippi. And it's beautiful. It's not, it's not a grandiose thing, but it's beautiful up there at Toccoa in the area. But anyway, so, but when I went out west and saw the bigger mountains and the waterfalls there, I was like, man, I've never seen a waterfall. And I've been all through this area, But so the experience of it, and the bigger it is, and the water and the thing and the sound and the whole experience will never leave me. I will feel that and remember it, and it's etched in my mind. Now I could go crazy and forget it, but the idea though, so if I was to go into outer space and see the world and see all this other stuff and blah, 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 and then come back down here, you don't think my opinion of stuff would be different? Of course it would, because we have experienced something profoundly different than we've ever seen before. So our feelings and our emotions will evolve. Because now we understand a larger, greater, bigger picture, not just somebody talked about Roswell one time, I really don't believe in that shit, but, and then there's some rednecks who believe more in aliens than they do in politicians, I mean, I know some folks that would trust an alien before they would a politician, that's an interesting take right there. But anyway, so this is 3 for the day, Hey, Gerald, 65 Starlight, Aurora, Michelle. Yeah, stay positive, whatever you guys was talking about. Maverick, his other senses will compensate hearing, taste, and smell, and a never-ending connection to source through silence. Everything has a purpose, patience, and faith. It will work out. Absolutely, Maverick. And one of the things that has gotten more acute in my own spiritism, if you will, is the fact that the more I have allowed things to come into me, the more I'm aware. And it's not a quantitative thing. I would like to be able to get a ruler and show you and say, well, I was down here and now somewhere. Well, here's the thing. That ruler has changed over the years. So if I was holding up a ruler, I'd say, well, here's the ruler and I'm right here now. And, And back a few years ago, I said, man, I bumped all the way up to here. Well, now, after the experience of opening up, I now feel like I'm not, if this was the whole ladder, I'm not halfway up it at all. No, I'm barely one rung. So the more you're aware of things, the more you realize, oh crap, oh wow, there's so much more for me to learn. Oh, wait a minute. You know, and for those folks who want to take a shortcut, okay, learning it the natural way, to me, because I've tried taking shortcuts and stuff, and the natural way is just a whole lot more effortless. It's more fun, and once you connect, it's there, you know. So, but anyway, I'm glad y'all come and hang out with me. Thank you so much. Plasma apocalypse will heal those who qualify for new earth, take out those who don't. You know, Aurora, that brings up, and it does have to do a little bit with my vision that I had in 2013. And Aurora, the plasma apocalypse will heal those. In my, it'll be in the video that comes up. I know I keep talking about it and I haven't done it yet. Raise the bar, yes. Or that you just know, it's just the awareness that here's the thing. It's at one point I was looking for, how am I doing? You know, some sort of spiritual measurement, right? And I keep talking about, when I learn how to walk through that wall, I will achieve, you know, being a shaman. But walking through walls don't make a shaman. But anyway, but the idea, though, that you understand the universe enough that you could do it or can do it. So, but in the understanding of things, you also understand, like I realized years ago, you've heard me talk about thinking out of the box. If you think there's a box, then that you got to think out of, then you know. So I had to think out of the box, see the box from the outside and go, oh my God, there is no box. The box is, we think out of the box. We think, so everything has to be encompassed somehow. So when you realize that, you know, heaven is a gated community, we have to think outside the box. Well, why don't we just get rid of the box and just think? That's what's in the universe. But when we contain things and try to qualify or quantify them, then we say, well, wait a minute, how far am I along in the spiritual journey? Well, I don't know, I'm this far on the scale. And then there is a point where you realize there is no scale. That, you know, the idea of measuring how you're doing is only in your awareness of every moment. So you say, well, how am I doing? Well, I can look back on my life and tell you that I used to be like this and this and this and this. But where am I on the spiritual level? There is no scale. But I know I'm still got a lot to learn. But if we try to quantify this, then none of us will be able to understand what the universe is like. But I'm sorry, sometimes I tickle myself. Imagine a pyramid of light around you directed to the chakra. Ask for help from your guides on how, when you are sitting in silence. Yep. Accepting myself as enough and being happy is my goal. Yep. But the thing is that, you know, people spend so much time wanting to quantify something. You know, well, it's going to be like this, and I'm going to be like, just be a good person. Just, you know, start working on it. Forget about it. You know, forget about that over there. But does it matter where you are? When I did the video the other night about confidence, it doesn't matter. Are you confident with yourself? And it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't ignore people. If somebody's got some, in theater, you must learn to accept criticism, constructive criticism. Listen, your character needs to develop like this. When you do this little part over here in this act, tone it down or bring it out more or something, it's constructive criticism. Your speech, you're turning too far upstage. Constructive criticism. Learn your lines more. Quit worrying, do whatever it is. Show more emotion or less or something. So, but in life, there are people who may actually, criticize us, and they may have a valid point. And I've looked back over my life and I've thought about some of the things folks have said at certain times, and I've realized there was truth in what they said. But I was too up about my own self to consider, because it was in an argument or something, blah, blah, blah. Well, you just don't understand and you're like this. And no, I'm not. Well, they wouldn't have said it if they hadn't noticed it. Oh, wait a minute now. So in our spiritual evolvement, we have to take, because if somebody saw something and pointed it out to us, we don't have to take the whole thing in the argument, but we ought to take whatever the point that they were trying to make, not all the hullabaloo and this and that. What point were they trying to make? Oh, maybe that it's showing through and you don't want to admit it or you don't see it, but other people actually do. Oh, you talk about going to the woods and doing a ceremony. When that struck me, when it hit me that, wait a minute, and I made an abrupt change in my life for the absolute better. I'm reading your stuff. Spiritual expansion isn't physically measurable. It isn't. Which weighs more, a pound of lead or a pound of feathers? Still a pound. That's the point. Sincere thanks to you, Maverick. Absolutely. Michelle, are you on Discord? No. Okay. I couldn't figure out. I wasn't in with the conversation. I want y'all to consider this. Now, I had an account with Discord at one time and was doing some stuff. This has been a while back when it first kind of got to be a thing. I wanted to try it out. And you know me, I have trouble with the word Discord and being involved in the Discord. In that it's representing that if I say something because I'm on Discord, it is going to be less harmonious. And in thinking of the higher things, I'm like, do I want to be involved with something that has a name that already, now I get it. It's a political discord. I mean, I really, truly understand. But for me, it was like, well, I'm going to be on Discord and the Discord and the Discord. And every time I said Discord, it put a discord, meaning the frequency. It was like somebody, like it's not quite E, it's flat, clang, and you're like, so much like that, the other word that was going around for a while and stuff. But anyway, and that worked itself out. But the idea of discord, I want to be involved with discord. I want to be involved with disharmony. I want to be, hang on, that's not really what I'm about. So I'm going to be on Discord to try to bring harmony. And I was like, that's going to be a losing battle. Right there, just the idea, the concept of now I get it. Okay. I really do, the idea, but also, did somebody somewhere without noticing realize what that word could mean on the grand scheme of things, that you're promoting discord versus harmony? into the universe. Well, I'm on Discord. Disassemble, dis that, discord, discard, get rid of. I get it, but I'm just showing you the way the words work. And there are folks who are tinkering with magic words, symbols, signs. I was talking with somebody the other day, and they were like, I see these sigils now everywhere. And I'm like, yeah. But the thing is that if you see it, it doesn't mean that the person who's using it knows what they're doing. It's just a sign. And they might have had this, saw it somewhere and drew it out and did it. I've seen that happen. But at the same time, is it a corporation who's using a symbol? And you know what's behind it and how much, it's like Walmart, for example. Years ago, I made a decision and I was spending $200-300 a week, or a month at Walmart. I haven't bought anything at Walmart for so long now. It's like they don't get my money anymore. So I've been spreading it around to this one and this one over here and that company and this company and this one over here. And so, and a lot of other people made a choice quite a few years ago too. And, they just don't go to Walmart as much as they used to. They go to the dollar store or they just do without. Now, there are some things that I can only find at Walmart. Okay, I'm stuck. But to the point, though, that people have been making up their minds differently. Whatever has turned their heads, whatever has got them into a different point of view. So I'm not telling you should stop Discord. You understand? But for me, when I started to do it, I was like, it just seems to me that like what I want to promote is harmony. And anyway, so you see my point. I don't need to go into that anymore. But 5 years ago, I would have been discorded out, man. I'd be discording left and right, man. But now, no. And is it a higher level of thinking? Am I being more spiritual, or am I just being a freaking snob? Am I being, snowed up? Am I being a snob? And I don't think so, because I understand that there are people out there that are doing communications with other folks, and it is bringing people together. But at the same time, I just had this wrestling thing about the Discord thing, and I just couldn't agree to it cosmically, So, but anyway, that doesn't mean I won't ever use it or be on that or anything like that. It just that, my point of view has changed about things. And you call that enlightenment, yes or no? Or is it stupidity? But for those shamans and spiritual people, words are power. So if I'm going to be discord, or if I'm going to be this over here or that over there, that's just an example. But, you've heard me talk about speaking in the positive as much as we can. Don't be going around saying don't and can't and this, and, rephrase it. And it works. It absolutely works. And it works on so many levels. But it keeps your energy in the positive way. Well, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. And stay, you can say stay away from certain things, but you always hear me try to rephrase it. I try to stay away from, don't say that or can't, And sometimes it's difficult to rephrase something, but after practice, you find different ways, and it's become a game of words. Yeah, you get it? Discord, LOL, right. And I'm not being, I'm not trying to, dissuade people from using it. I'm not that, but words are magic. And so we don't know who started the magic with the word. You know what I mean? Somebody came up with this and, okay, but who? And what was their, did they have a higher purpose? Are these sigils and signs of, corporations and things with pyramids and weird shapes and stuff, are those sigils that are working for the bad guys? Chances are they are. There's a lot of folks using a lot of different kind of energy. And we're fighting a huge battle. It ain't just a this or that. It's a bunch of stuff. But what we notice is, whoops, there's one. And so now we're aware of it. We don't worry about it. We're observant. Whoops, there's a rattlesnake. You know, whoops, there's a moccasin. You know, oh, there's a moccasin. I'm going to kill it. Hang on. Moccasins have their purpose. So do rattlesnakes. But at the same time, there are people who will see it and become obsessed with the fact that they saw it. I saw an alligator. Yeah, okay, calm down. No, but I saw an alligator. I know you saw an alligator. I believe you. But I saw an alligator. I know it's an alligator. But the alligator, I know. Calm down, please. You're aware of it. That's what you're supposed to know. That's where your higher being comes into play. I'm aware of that now. A few years ago, it was just a sign. Now I'm aware there's maybe something behind that symbol or whatever, So it makes us aware of larger things, of greater things, of other things. Now, do we need to know exactly what's going on? Because no, we probably never will. Does it matter? Is that a symbol of something that we really want to be attached with or to, or, or do we make a choice subconsciously or consciously and go, that doesn't resonate with me. I think I'm going to go over here or use this whatever it may be. So it's up to us. But as we are enlightened and as we see these things, we use them to our benefit. That's our defense. I see you. Doesn't mean we have to fight or attack or do anything. I see you. I see you, snake. I've been down on the river. An alligator is bigger than my kayak, okay, which is not really necessarily a big gator, but, it's only a 10-foot kayak. So the gator is almost as big and I'm sitting, this far off the water. So, and a long way from anywhere to get any help. But the thing is, the gator's as scared as I am, right? But still, after all my years of being in the swamps, there was this one time, this one gator, we surprised each other. And I like to poop my pants down there at that time because he was so close. And it was at least 8 foot. And a healthy gator, sitting up on the bank. And I came around this curve and it just right in front of the kayak. But I realized, fear, he ran from me. He could have stayed on the bank and I'd have just floated by. But fear of the unknown, it strikes us to do different things. But was the gator dangerous to me? No, only in the fact that I would have crapped myself, But it's the awareness. I know you're there. I know there are gators down here. And am I scared of them? No, I'm just wary of them. Have I ever been attacked by a gator? No. I've had them bump the boat before years ago. But recently on the river where I go, they keep a distance. But he's aware of me and I'm aware of them. And that's how it works. So are we scared of the alligators? No, he's over there. But aren't you scared? No, he's over there. But it's an alligator. I know, it's over there. But aren't you scared? No, he's over there. But you see my point? So there are alligators everywhere if we see them as being dangerous and going to eat us alive. And we can change our own tune and go, I see you and I know you're an alligator, but you can't get me. That's where you got your own core values and you stick with. So anyway, I guess I've been at this now for about 5 hours total. It is a platform, a way to communicate with other like-minded individuals. Too bad it's gained such a reputation. Yeah, 65 Starlight. Wally Gator, absolutely, Deborah. Foghat. Oh, Foghat had some great music. Oh man, Foghat was one of my favorites back in the day. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I'm glad, Gerald, you put Foghat out there because and Deep Purple. That was another group too. But Foghat and the James Gang. Any of y'all remember the James Gang, the band? Man, they had some good music back in the day. I'm here to tell you, they just don't. I know there are still groups out there that are playing decent music, but back in the day when there were groups like the James Gang and Deep Purple and Foghat and all them folks, I'm sorry, the music these days just does not compare. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm an old geezer, but smoke on the water, boom, 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 boom. Anyway, and Three Dog Night, yeah. One is the loneliest number that you'll ever choose. Two can be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number is the number one. Yeah, Three Dog Night. Yep. And there was and John Fogerty has done some stuff too. You know, Beach Boys. Yeah, that goes back. And I was listening to something that this young Chinese or Japanese girl plays these big instruments, and she was playing a song, and I was like, it was the Ventures. And back in the 50s and early 60s, the Ventures, I mean, there was no singing. Wipeout and Walk Don't Run. I mean, for those instrumentals, oh my, hey bird dog, stay away from my quail. And I took a song one time and it surprised my son. And I did this blues version of, he was like, what song is that? And I said, it's Johnny Cash. No, it ain't. And I said, yeah, it is. And he goes, what is it? I said, it's Folsom Prison Blues. What? And I was drawing it out and, playing it with a bluesy style instead of that doom, 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 boom, boom, doom, 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 anyway. So he was like, that's Folsom Prison. I said, well, the words are and the chords are, but I said the style isn't Johnny Cash, But he was just freaking out. It was, that can't be Folsom Prison. Yeah, it is. That's my version, But anyway, so styles and profiles, and yeah. But anyway, so my friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me, Deborah. It's good to see you, Mossy Man. Greetings to you. Like I said, I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before. Blessings. It's good to see you. Maverick is all. Each one of you, Gerald, thank you. Every one of you got a wonderful opinion. Okay, Aurora, what about disclosure? Let me put this 10 cents in. And I was watching Simon Parks today, catching up on some last week's video or a few days ago, trying to catch up. And a similar question was posed. And it's this. And I've been a sci-fi buff, way back. So anyway. But in watching sci-fi and reading Robert Heinlein and stuff way back in the day and getting this idea of space and there's a different kind of connection with it. And where other people, they just don't care. Well, that's just a book. Or it's just, no, I was interested in what they were talking about, the star drives and the this and the that and the planets and the beings. And anyway, so, but what Simon said today, or in his last video, basically, they have been disclosing to us with all these movies about space and Mars and away and this one and that one, and at the same time, all these things about witches and the this one and the covens and the there's a couple of them, the coven, the group, the thing, anyway, they got different names, but the society, the this thing, the that thing. And so they're showing it to us right dead flat in our face, whether the person who wrote the story was actually involved in it or was prompted to by one, faction or another to put this story together. So, is the influence from other people, or did, now some, Stephen King wrote books and then they said, hey, let's make your movies. Let's make movies. Where there are people who are making movies without books. You know what I'm saying? So there's a script. So where does the script come from? Where do these ideas come from? And some of the old black and white sci-fi movies have got some stuff in there that they're tidbits of science that I didn't know they were aware of back in the 50s. And it has to do with stuff now, plasma and this, that, and the other. Wait a minute, they knew in the 50s in black and white about plasma technology? What? I don't remember any of that, but it was in the sci-fi movie. So, but, in general discussion about plasma, now we have plasma TV. So my point is that, so Simon said that, at least 50% of these movies are either completely true or have got more truth in them than people would like to believe. Aliens, the types of aliens. I was talking with a friend the other day, and I said, remember that, no, I'm trying to remember the name. Anyway, there were a couple of puppets in it, and there was a blue alien. I can't think of the name of it right now. But anyway, it was this really good-looking lady that was in blue. She's actually a representation of the Lang, L-A-N-G, Lang. And that and she was on that program. Yes, 60 bar Stylite. I'm dusting up the guitars. Actually, I don't have any place to sit down with it. I'm rearranging. Not the Dark Crystal, no. Although the Dark Crystal and what Jim Henson, it took him 10 years to make that movie. Yeah, and they've done this other, Netflix had it, that the Henson's great. He and I were born on the same date, the 24th of September, and I became a puppeteer. No, not Avatar either. It was a series, space series, on Sci-Fi or something like that. It was on cable, but it's not on anymore. They'll, I haven't seen it in a while. I had the name earlier, but anyway, but to my point, there's this blue lady, right? And she's actually, when I found out later on through Dante and other channels and stuff about the Alien Handbook, the Russian Alien Handbook, there were these blue beings that, look just like that character on that television show. So, have they been showing us who these alien beings are all along and telling us the narrative? And so, I went back and watched some of these videos over again, like the Hunger Games kind of thing. They're the agenda of what the story's about, and then the hidden agenda behind the plot, and really what's up, fooling people into believing that this is the right way, and the cover up and the hysteria, and we're going to make the people believe what we want to believe. If that ain't what's going on right now, holy crap in a bag. You know what I'm saying? So, but we are maintaining, we are doing better. X-Men, no, it isn't that one. It was sort of along the lines of like Andromeda, but it was these different beings. Anyway, I said it the other day, like, damn, it just came right out. Now I can't remember it. Anyway. But one of these little characters was a puppet, and he was a little short kind of guy anyway. Yeah, and now, yes, the show V is more true than not. That the V stands for the Vlash, VLASH, Vlash. And they put that stuff right dead in all of our faces. And there's another show that came on in the 90s, and I'm trying to remember. You can find it on it's on the Roku channel, if any of you get Roku. And it's an old series. I think there were 4 or 5 seasons, and it's all about these beings that come, and there are emissaries from Earth that come up, and they're trying to help us, but actually they're not, and there's all this stuff. But so anyway, there is more truth to some of these things than not, like Stargate. There was a thing going on about, I'm going to say it was the 200th episode or something. It was way along the line, but I thought it was Farscape. That's it, Debbie. Ding, ding, ding. You win. Farscape. Farscape. That's it. Farscape. And it's the blue lady on Farscape. And she's a Lang. And it's in the Russian handbook from the 1940s about these blue beings. There she is on Farscape. Thank you. I should write that down. So, but they've been, dumping these little hints at us for years. Yeah, the Vlash. Yep. Nasty beings. And they're one of the groups that they've lost control and would rather see the planet get blown to smithereens than have any of us survive and them lose control. They'd literally rather just blow up the place and move on. And, but they're the other bad guys who are like, let's not be too hasty about blowing the place up. Let's see if we just can't contain the situation, And so now this is my discussion. This is what I understand about it. Okay. Is it actually true? But the more I've asked about it, the more it seems to be true. The Vlash and the Mater are the 2 bad guys, and they're going at it for control. Okay. It's the Rothschilds and the whoever. Okay. It's the Japanese and the Nazis, right? Leave everybody else out. It's the 2 of them. No, I'm going to be in control. Oh, I'm going to be. Okay. So these guys, though, the Vlash, have lost control to the point where they'd rather just see the planet get blown up. Now, there has been video of a flying saucer near Air Force One, and it's suggested that it is a Mater ship, which represents all of the rich folk. Okay. Now, they want to control the planet by just giving you jobs. Okay. But everybody's been happy with jobs as long as they can make enough money and feed their family and have a decent place to live, So they would like to see that come back, okay? But the Vlash, they're like, we've lost control. Screw this. Let's just blow the planet up and the hell with everybody. Bye. We're out of here. And the other side is like, wait a minute. Now, come on. We might not have the same control, but we should be able to adapt to this. Now, these are the bad guys going at who's going to get control over us. And then there are the rest of us, the Anunnaki and the Christus and the Kurs and other races, Pleiadians and so forth, that are trying to, let them 2 fight it out. But at the same time, let's try to, if the Mater is doing something at the moment that's going to defeat the Vlash, the enemy of my enemy is now my friend, at least for now. So, there are stories of two guys getting together, and they're both from opposing sides, but there's a third, like a dragon, or there's a third entity, and they both look at each other and go, look, you and I will fight amongst ourselves, but we're going to be friends to get rid of this foe. And off they go. And they're friends. And then, but when it's over with, they, have a meal, drink some, wine, and have a little grog, and sit around the fire. And next morning they get up and have at it till one of them's dead. It's been going on for a long time. So, but with that said, though, um, there's so many factions going on and I've seen some of these spaceships getting blown out of the sky. I mean, I've seen debris come across the horizon, and what there is no possible way that what I have seen was any kind of meteor. This looked like the pictures of when the shuttle came in that time and blew up everywhere. This is what it was like, and all over the sky. And a voice in my head said, "Look out the window," and I seen this thing just being spread all over the sky, and down here in South Georgia. So I've seen some strange things, as I know some other people too. But the idea, though, that let them battle it out. I'm going to stay over here on the sidelines. But the bottom line of the universe is this: the good guys think like us. They want humanity to get along. They want folks to learn how to, do. They want to be able to bring a technology to where people aren't suffering. It's horrible for people to suffer. The other side, they love that suffering. They literally eat it up. So, but even to the Mater, they're like, okay, enough's enough with you guys. You're eating babies and you're doing this and all that. Come on now, calm down. And they're like, no, if we don't get our way, we're going to blow the planet up. Some of the fires in California, I absolutely believe, were done by the Flash on purpose. It's not the Russians. It's not the Chinese. It's the bad guys. Yes, it's coming from space, but oh no, it ain't our technology. I've seen similar things down here, and you can see it on the radar, on different radars. There are these beams that show up on our local radar down here, and one of them shows up from like one of the air bases over near Valdosta, and another one's near, shoots down to Tallahassee, where the Mag Center is, in Tallahassee. And I just wonder sometimes, and I mean, you can see there on the radar, it's this straight line that goes from here to here, and it's there for a couple of frames, and then it disappears. And it happens all the time. And it's like, well, sometimes it goes from this way, and sometimes it goes this way. And I'm like, what the hell's down here in the South that's doing this now out west and blah, blah, blah? What's this going on? It ain't normal because it doesn't show up all the time. It's only once in a while. But it's also, is it directed energy? What is it? I don't know. But at the same point, the things that were seen here this last week with those energy things and the fires starting, it's kind of hard to say, well, I don't think that really exists anymore. So for a lot of us, our awareness has increased. Do you remember Alien Nation? That and V, creepy. Absolutely, Deborah. I know that was going to happen the night before it did. The shuttle exploding upon re-entry. Yeah, that was a strange thing. As adults, says Gerald, we should be giving the kids the world, not selling it to them, where a loser is always created. Yeah. One of the things that the Native Americans did, now they had things to where, wait, let me back up a second. There are things now, like in kindergarten, everybody's a winner. Yeah. Some people are obviously better than others, all right? And there's nothing wrong with competition. But it's that there is only one winner. There aren't 5 or 10. Well, there's a first and a second and a third. Look, I ran track, okay? So, but what about the guy that was right behind third, fourth, and fifth? They were running like hell too. Now, they don't get an award or a place or anything, but those folks are just ignored. What about the entire race? Good race to everyone, right? But Bob he still beat y'all, and Bob's just good at running. So what the hell, but Joe over here, he's really good at the long jump, where Bob sucks, and Jim over here on this side, he's really good at the high jump. Bob can't get off the ground, but he's one hell of a sprinter. So we should accept we all have differences, but the amount that is put on the winner, the one, you know, I watched, for example, tonight the end of the Stanley Cup series. And I'm not necessarily one for hockey, but, you know, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they won the Stanley Cup. Tampa won the Stanley Cup. What? And these guys changed around to where they had the cup, everybody got around it, and every one of the team members got a chance to hold it and do a little turn on the ice. There's nobody in the arena, it's almost empty. But for the team members, regardless of who played and how long, every member of the team got to hold the cup and do a little, a twist. And I thought that was great. The team, there's the one guy that scored like 10 goals during the finals. And even his team members were like, he did it, and we support him. But then he came back. This was just tonight. He came back and was like, okay, here's the cup. We're all sharing this thing. I may have gotten the most goals, but I couldn't have done it without the rest of you. So there's not enough support. It's always the winner. It's always the one. And yes, one is the loneliest number that you'll ever choose, Two can be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number. That's the number one. Anyway, so my friends, I love you. Thank you. Gerald, is Jefferson Fault, a.k.a. the Draco. There is Draco and there is Drago with a G. And the Draco, like the Pleiades, if you've ever taken a telescope or a good pair of binoculars will do it, and looked at the Pleiades, it's called Seven Sisters. But if you look at that constellation, there's a bunch of stuff in there, a bunch of stuff. There are clouds and things, and you don't need any special equipment. Just look. So if somebody says, we're from Pleiades, oh, well, that'd be like saying I'm from the solar system of Earth. I'm from Sol. Well, there's Jupiter, well, but most people don't believe there's anything else exist on any of the other planets, but we'll leave it at that. But there is a lot of stuff about Venus, and Venus just is never talked about. Because supposedly we made an agreement with Venusians way back when. Who knows? But you notice nothing is ever said about Venus. Ever. Mercury, planet, Venus just doesn't show up. Nobody talks about Venus except the morning star, evening star. But there are no things that go to Venus. There are no probes that go to Venus. There are nothing that goes to Venus. And there was a sci-fi movie years ago about there were people, we went to Venus and screwed it up. And the people said, you ain't coming here no more, or we're going to blast you out of the sky. So, but anyway, Deborah says, I just really don't like competition. I think that's why they started calling skin color races to make it a competition. Good point. Life has devolved into a cartoon or a bad reality show. Yeah, that's why, like when I was talking about, we're in the middle of the Blunder Games, with all this stuff, Now, I was watching tonight, just before I started this video, they were going to talk about how much money Trump spends on his hair. That's the key story for President Trump tonight. That the Democrats and whoever is on this side, look how much money Trump spends on his barber. Who gives a rat's patookie? If the guy who does Trump's hair, whoever he or she may be, and they get a lot of money, good for them. There are hairdressers that struggle to do, good for them. They're giving them a salary so they can live decently. Oh, but Trump is, think about the person who's getting the money. What about the hairdresser and the people? But Trump spent on someone to do it. He's paying a salary to someone. What's wrong with that? Well, he's paid. Look how much. And it was all about Trump's hair. Oh, my God. Can't talk about anything about any kind of, what about the deal he made over in the Middle East last week or whatever? What about the other things that he's done? What about this over here? Oh no, but Trump's hair, look how much money he spent on it. I'm like, oh, Jiminy, God almighty. If this ain't the Blunder Games, holy mackerel, that's the best they can do. Look how much money he spent on. Life on Venus was just in the MSN. Oh, really? Wow. See, I talk about it. But my point is I haven't heard, has been no news about it. So the fact that it is, now that's interesting, Michelle. Now, Deborah, as far as the competition thing, I've ran track, I've played football, bike racing. I used to do auto racing and participated in some, sports car racing back in the day. And amongst friends, when we played tag team football and stuff like that, it was a competition between friends. And I mean, a whole group of us, would play football on the weekends when I was in high school. And in between my times in the hospital with my leg. But even with a bum leg, I used to play football. And I could throw a pass back in the day, and I wasn't even a quarterback. But the idea, though, that we as this group of friends, whoever won or lost, it was never a big deal. Yeah, we beat you. Yeah, good game. Wait till next week, So there was competition, but there was never this, I don't know, the quote, the competition has become a competition. So what used to just be a friendly game is now a competition. It used to just be a game. Well, team A, team B. Well, there's 11 people on the football team on both sides, or however many we had at the time. But so it was the group, and it was like, the whole team of hockey players. They all won, it wasn't one member, although he scored 10 goals or something, but that the whole team did it. It couldn't have been done without the rest of them. So it's our mentality that's changed against the competition. What competition has become. Competition has become a competition. You compete against the other competitors. Everything is to compete against So, but two folks having a race, one guy's going to win, the other guy's not, or whatever. And, you get down and go, hey, and it helps you to run faster or do better, a little bit of competition. But when it gets squirrely, when it's only the one who is the winner of the deal, I get your point. But competition, when I was a kid, was just a bunch of kids playing. Now it's we won, you won. It was just a bunch of kids playing. So the concept of competition, in my humble opinion, has changed. The competition has become a competition. Two of them. It ain't fun, just fun anymore. Okay. I got the butt cramp boogies. Friendly competition makes you better, but competition for money promotes fight. Oh, absolutely. 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 I agree wholeheartedly. Yep. News on Venus. MSN, huh? I'll just type in life on Venus and see what comes up, I reckon. But anyway, I do have butt cramps, and it's 2:30 in the morning almost here. I love you all. I do. Thank you for hanging out with me. You have become my bestest friends in all the world. All y'all, not just one of you. Every one of you has something to contribute. And I love it because we as a group are winning, Anyway, so with that, I'm going to say good night, good morning. Mainstream media, MSN. Oh, I got you. Thank you, Aurora. 65 Starlight. It's always good. Gerald, as always. Deborah, let's see. Butt cramp o'clock. It really is. Amanda, been hiding in the background. I didn't see you there. But Man, cosmic hugs and good to see you. Amanda, light of my life. Fate should have made you a gentleman's wife. Amanda, light of my life. Fate could have made you a gentleman's wife. Let's see. I was looking back up here to see who else I'd missed about saying audio. Maverick, if you're still there, love you, buddy. Mossy Man, and anybody else. Deborah, I think I got everybody so far. But anyway, Aurora, Amanda, thank you so much. And yes, 65 Starlight, I am dusting off the guitars. I swear to God. But the rain and the skeeters and other things I'm trying to get done before cold weather sets in really good. The guitar just hasn't been on the top of the list, but it is coming. I swear to you, because I want it myself. So anyway, thank you, Deborah. Just off the cuff, doing singing and voicing, to just break out in song is like sometimes, well, I don't really have the voice for it and I don't have the pitch. But anyway, yeah, that was one of the songs I used to sing back in the day. Looking back, Texas, Waylon and Willie and the boys. I'm trying to remember. Tom Paul Glasser. No, that's not him. That wrote Amanda. Anyway, cosmic hugs, everybody. I could talk for another 20 minutes or so. It's good for you, I'm sure. Yep, it will be. It will be. And I got this book. I'm trying to. I was going to do remember the Boot Scoot Boogie or whatever it was. It was written by somebody that's down here in the South in this area. Boot Scoot Boogie, something like that. Anyway, then there was a parody that was done that was called the Butt Scoot Boogie. And I was thinking about doing a parody on the two of those songs for the Butt Cramp Boogie or the Butt Cramp Blues. And I was thinking of an old Robert Johnson song, when I was thinking about the Butt Cramp Boogie. And also I've seen, blues player from Chicago, black man. Anyway, wow, I cannot think of his name. Saw him in Tallahassee along with a Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy and B.B. King were along with one other gentleman was at the Civic Center in Tallahassee a few years back. And you talk about, oh my God, Buddy Guy. I was like, who is this guy? I'd heard some of his music, but when he played in concert, he was out on stage and literally his guitar was hooked up with without a cord with a thing. He walked out of the auditorium, off the stage, went up to the second level, and there was a kid in a wheelchair, and he went up there and put his guitar in the kid's lap and let him play strum the guitar on the second level, right? And the band's still down, and he never missed a lick. It was amazing. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before, ever. And may not ever, well, I haven't seen it again since, but Buddy Guy, oh my goodness, and some blues that he could play. So my granddaughter never crawled. She only scooted on her butt till she walked. Yeah. I would have that talking stick all night. You're right, 65. Till next time. Okay, thank you. I'm just hyper, maybe it's the energy or whatever. But so just continue spreading that good energy, right? Anyway, so evolution. Where do we stand? At present, it's questionable. We'll leave it at that. So everybody, thank you. Have a good night and a good morning and the rest of the week. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the debates or not. There's going to be enough replay. I don't know if I can stomach it. Anyway, I love you all. Thank you. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you and everybody you may come in contact with will learn to accept and receive the healing and the knowledge and the wisdom from the universe. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you and all of your acquaintances and everybody you touch toes with will learn to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe, and that you can share what you continue to share what you have learned and continue to share the laughter, because we're in some dark times right now. But each one of us can shine that flashlight in somebody's eyes and get a reaction. So make them laugh, make them think. Thank you, Gerald. Till next time, 65, always Michelle, always, always Deborah. Thank you, Gerald. Amanda, if you're still in the background, we love you all. You guys and gals are such a wonderful group. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You humble me with your presence. You do. I don't know if you all know that enough, but there are times when I just literally, it brings me to tears. The fact that you all are there and hang out with me, it's overwhelming to me sometimes, but grateful. I'm very grateful. I said on my Facebook that, I am humbled and grateful for each and every one of you of the Soul Tribe for your being here and for your contribution. And I sincerely mean that. So thank you. Till next time, be sweet. Cheers, everybody. Thank you, Starlight. Me and you are going to have a conversation one of these days. I'm picking on you, but I'm going to get out that dusty old guitar and y'all going to throw some songs at me, and I'm going to see what I had a list of songs that I knew that covered like 3 pages, and it was this one and this one and this and this, and I was like, those are just some of the songs I know, and I can sit down with a guitar and just let my fingers and for all the years I've been playing, I know some shit that just goes way back, For example, you remember Grandma's lye soap, good for everything in the home. The secret was in the scrubbing. It wouldn't suds and couldn't foam. Oh, let us all sing right out for Grandma's lye soap. We'll sing right out all over the place. The pots and kettles, the dirty dishes, or your little hands and or your face. Yes. It's in the book. Anyway, that's just one. I'll have to practice. I've been talking too much. Do you know that there was it was on a 45, and on one side of it was it's in the book, and I'll play it one time when I find it. Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep and doesn't know where to find them. But leave them alone. Yes, nay, leave them alone. For they being the sheep, they will come home, wagging their tails behind them. Behind them. Pray tell me where else would they wag them? But it's in the book. It's an oldie goldie from back in the late 50s or 60s. I can't remember the guy's name. But on the flip side of it was Grandma's lye soap. So on one side was this Little Bo Peep speech, right? They being the sheep, they... And his voice quavered like that. Ladies and gentlemen, Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep. It's great. Anyway, that's my mimic of it. There is elemental up in those hills. Yeah, there are. Okay. Good night, everybody. Good morning. Be sweet, be safe. Until next time, I'll come up with some other crazy songs. I got a bunch of them. So, thank you, 65. Michelle, as always, and everybody. I am humbled with your presence. Thank you so much. With love, TTM fan and Cosmic Hugs, everybody. I got to pee.